The craziest stories on Paternity Court.
It was a one-night thing. How is that even possible, though?
We have a lot of people here on this earth. They are products of one-night stands. Did you use protection on that one night?
No.
That's a recipe for making a baby.
He was the person I was with at the time.
Well, it doesn't matter who you're with when the doctor tells you you're pregnant. It matters who you're with when the child is conceived.
You know, because they say they pregnant, especially when I hear that she's a promiscuous woman, had a boyfriend. We gonna believe this one is ours.
He enjoyed it every night.
That's all right.
I
heard it was one night.
Following the Cheaters and Babies Brigade, we've got Miss Walton claiming Mr. Deaver might be the daddy. But there's a plot twist involving cell phone snooping and a pregnancy test conspiracy. Better strap in, folks. Here we go.
I never had sex with him unprotected, so it was never any unprotected sex. Also, the time of conception, I did not mess with that guy.
You can initially put the condom on, but while you're having
Your Honor,
sex,
I would know if I
guys,
had sex
they
there.
can
I would
slip
know
the
that.
condom off, you know, do different things, stuff like that, so you never really know.
By the looks of it, the baby mama did accept there could be doubts, but she seemed sure of the supposed protective measures. However, the snooping resulted in more than one possible candidate. Classic romance, right? Love was truly in the air, along with a hint of sarcasm.
I had sex with a guy with protection. I never had unprotected sex with anybody besides him.
You admit you had cheated on her, but then she retaliated, had sex with a person.
Yes, having sex with a guy that I knew for years, other guys that I know of.
Other guys?
Oh, other guys.
Yeah.
So you think it's more than one guy?
So Miss Walton indeed cheated, but for the good old tit-for-tat fiasco. However, she seemed to have a habit of going back and forth on her claims. Is it trust issues or just a case of crossed wires? Because from cheating to faking tests, that was a lot to take in.
What really happened was she had somebody, whoever it was, that was actually pregnant, use her urine, and that's how, that's how it happened.
So you faked the pregnancy test, Ms. Deaver?
Yes, ma'am, I did. I wanted him to feel the exact way I felt when he did all the things that he did to me.
Well, what do you know? All that crying wolf turned out to be true, as Mama ended up pregnant for real. But now the baby daddy had a little hard time believing it. Though his suspicions had a pretty solid basis, Mommy had the gall to call them confused.
Did you believe you were the father?
It was all around this one time, seemed like, man, where she was messing
Your
with
Honor,
me
that's
and
not
still,
true.
you know, I'm finding
not true.
text messages about her bragging about the guy's sex and all of this, so it just, I didn't know what to believe.
That's not true. He's getting the times mixed up. He's confused.
Enter the birth certificate conundrum. It appears baby daddy had been involved in the journey. However, the certificate had no evidence of that. Evidently, on the day of birth, Mommy wanted him to sign, and the hospital staff stepped in when Daddy expressed doubts. A vigilant nurse at your service.
The story that I told her, it led to her seeing that I had a little doubt. But she said, even if I wanted to now, I cannot sign a birth certificate. She told me I couldn't sign a birth certificate just because she felt that I had doubt.
The nurse in the hospital told you
Yes, she said
she
I could
would not allow you to sign
Yes,
it.
yes, even if I
because you're
wanted-
expressing doubt.
Yes.
Well, it was not just a legal document. It's a symbol of trust, or the lack thereof. It seems Mommy's antics were now biting her right back. Should not have lied and deceived that much, huh, Miss Walton?
Man doesn't trust you. You've given him every reason not to.
Right.
Him cheating on you and all of that is absolutely wrong and unacceptable if you all were in a relationship.
I would have respected her more if she didn't try to get back at me, and then I would be rubbing her feet, begging her every day to, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry for what I did.
Now, before the guy went on to give his speech, our DNA queen stepped in and told him what was what. Oh, he certainly faced the shenanigans of a woman scorned. What he had to realize was that he started it.
You know the saying, hell hath no fury. Like a what? Woman scorned. You don't mess with a woman.
Yeah.
Because we love with our whole heart, and when we do and when you crush it, some of us are able to walk away, but some of us feel like we need to get some revenge before we walk away.
Will the truth be revealed? Well, you were in luck, because those DNA results were in. Yep, the moment of truth was here, and a lot was at stake. Will these results shatter or solidify their rocky relationship? Let's find out.
Mr. Deaver, you are his father.
Never heard.
How do you feel, Ms. Walton?
I'm happy, but I already knew. He had doubts, but
Just one seed of doubt, right?
Miss Miles thought her dear old dad was resting in peace. until reality shattered that illusion 3 agonizing years ago. Now she's on a desperate mission to prove that Mr. Fullylove is the father she never knew. Buckle up for an emotional roller coaster.
And the rumor in the town that we grew up in said that Mr. Fullylove was deceased. And that's what I was led to believe because my mom hadn't seen him since I was born.
How did you find out he was alive?
A friend of the family, we ran into each other at the store, and he said him and Mr. Fullylove are friends.
Picture this bleak scenario. Miss Miles living in a world where her father was nothing but a memory, thanks to some town rumors. But then, a family friend spills the bitter truth that Mr. Fullylove is, in fact, alive. Oh boy, we're just setting the course for a rather interesting confrontation.
We tried to reach Mr. Fullylove on numerous occasions. Text messages, calls, voicemails, pictures, and I didn't hear from Mr. Fullylove.
How long does it take you to actually get in touch with him?
Almost 3 years.
And so for 3 years, you're just, waiting every day, wondering, is this the day he's gonna call me back?
But wait, the tragedy deepens. Mr. Fullylove confesses to the reasons behind his delayed response, involving a friend and some tangled drama. Mrs. Fullylove adds a layer of Christian drama. Well, it's just sad to say a girl is being raised without a dad.
My wife is a Christian, and she might not like this. Okay, your wife is a Christian. This happened 25 years ago. He wasn't even married to this woman. So if his wife is the perfect Christian, she should accept my daughter because I'm 1,000% sure that he is her father.
The truth about the ill-fated relationship between Miss Miles' mom and Mr. Fullylove is laid bare. It involves dancing, betrayal, and shattered dreams. Mr. Fullylove tries to justify himself, but there's a lot more involved in this tragedy. And wait, Miss Fullylove has her mouth full.
You know, because they say they pregnant, especially when I hear that she's a promiscuous woman, had a boyfriend, already had a baby.
You know what?
So why, we gonna believe this one is ours?
He enjoyed it every night.
That's all right. I heard it was one night. I heard it was one night.
Okay, then.
I heard it was one night.
Okay.
Miss Miles admits to sleeping with her best friend's father, Mr. Fullylove. The affair, occurring 3 weeks after the friend's funeral, becomes a tragic tale of regret and secrecy. Despite Mr. Fullylove recalling the intimate encounter, he insists it happened only once, unaware of Miss Miles' existing relationship and child.
I didn't know she had no kids, Your Honor.
You said you did earlier now.
But hold on, Mr. Fullylove. Do you remember the day you pulled up on her mother's house?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
You don't remember that?
No,
So is it your testimony that after having a sexual relationship with this young woman, you never even knew she was pregnant?
Never.
Anticipation fills the courtroom as the DNA results are unveiled. Miss Miles, visibly moved, had a lot going on in her head. Let's see how that goes. This decade-long mystery was about to be solved. So buckle up for some paternity sprinkle.
Mr. Fullylove, you are the father. That is your beautiful, beautiful daughter.
It's nice to meet you, Miss Kendall.
Nice to meet you.
You're a beautiful lady. Can I get a hug?
I love you.
Isn't that just so tragic for the dad and daughter to miss so many important years of each other's life? Well, like they say, it's better late than never. This happens to be one of the most tragic paternity cases ever witnessed.
That was wonderful. Thank you for that moment. Ms. Miles, how does it feel?
Oh, it feels awesome. I got a dad.
Oh. I know this has been a long time coming, Ms. Miles. I see your emotion, but I need you now to allow your daughter this moment, this space, and the grace to get to know her father.
We met Miss Laws and Mr. Bailey, yet another confusing case. Miss Laws is convinced that Mr. Bailey is the father of her 19-month-old son, but he denies it, pointing out that his mother has doubts. There's also a twist involving Miss Law's older son, who is 4 years old, but his birth certificate bears another man's name.
Me and Mr. Davis was actually intimate for 1.5 years. I never got pregnant. The first night that I actually cheated and slept with Mr. Bailey, 2 months later, I find out I'm pregnant. I told the both of them when I found out.
You told both men. Who was at the birth with you?
Mr. Davis.
Who is on the birth certificate for the first child?
Mr. Davis.
How about I start calling in some facts? Their love started with dating back in middle school. Well, after seeing so many cases, seems like 90% of teenage love ends up in paternity disputes, huh? It seems they had an on and off again relationship. And above all else, they even had a long-distance relationship.
You led Mr. Davis to believe that he was the father.
When I slept with Mr. Bailey, I was still in a relationship with Mr. Davis.
It was a one-night thing. How is that even possible, though?
We have a lot of people here on this earth. They are products of one-night stands. Did you use protection on that one night?
No.
That's a recipe for making a baby.
But here's the scoop, guys. Miss Laws told both Mr. Davis and Mr. Bailey about the pregnancy, leading Mr. Davis to believe he was the father. Mr. Davis was present at the birth and is listed as the father of Jamari's birth certificate. Just wow! But later, she admits to cheating Mr. Davis with Mr. Bailey.
When I told Mr. Bailey, I told him second after I told Mr. Davis. And what Mr. Bailey said was, "That's my baby."
Did you say that's my baby?
No, how I'm gonna say that's
Him
my...
and his cousin was saying that.
Excuse me,
Him
can
and
I
his
say
cousin.
something?
How am I
Can I
gonna
say
say that's
something?
my
Wait, wait,
baby?
wait.
Because you know
I
you
don't
slept
know.
with me. Because you know
Yeah,
you
I
slept
slept
with
with
me.
you.
Wait, Judge Lake asked Miss Laws about a relationship with both men and whether she used protection during her intimate encounters. Mr. Davis passed away believing he was Jamari's father, and his family accepted the child. Miss Laws concealed her infidelity, and only some of Mr. Bailey's family members knew about it. Whoops, that wasn't part of the plan.
I kept that secret for so long. I was young. I didn't know how to say it. It would hurt. He dead now. So he's saying he don't know if he could be the dad. What he told me Friday was, if both of these kids come out mine, I'm going to marry you. You know what I mean? So why even sit here and lie like you don't even know it's a possibility?
And this is what secrets do to us. They tear us apart.
The court calls Mr. Davis's sister, Miss Collier, as a witness. She firmly believes that her brother is Jamari's biological father. I just hope that all comes out to be true. Otherwise, we're gonna face some deep heartbreaks. Let's hear her out for a while.
He was so happy, and then he told my mom that he had the baby on the way. My family always thought Jamari was ours, regardless. Nicole never told us about Mr. Bailey.
What you're saying is that you have never received information your brother was this child's biological father.
So, now the broken bond was at the mercy of DNA results. The only chance to repair the hurt and guilt was to get the results that either side wanted. But you know, in paternity court, you don't always get what you want. So, here's Judge Lake pulling out the curtain.
The biological father is Mr. Bailey.
Oh.
I'm very sorry, Miss Collier.
He's still gonna be my nephew, because I had that bond with Jamari.
Jamari is also your biological child.
It just blew me away, honestly.
Being raised by the system was a hard call for Mr. Walker, but that was the one thing that inspired the foster child to never do the same to his children. Everything was going smoothly for him, until his ex-girlfriend claims he's not the father of her 13-month-old baby. But why? Let's find out.
I regret letting him sign the birth certificate. I just wanted to get the truth out today and just figure out he's not the father so I can get him off the birth certificate.
I haven't been allowed to see my son the last 6 months because Miss DeVost claims that I am not the father.
But you're on the birth certificate.
Yes, Your Honor. I was there the whole time.
Miss DeVost shamelessly admits she prevented Mr. Walker from visiting Kaimani because she believes he's not the true dad. This revelation did bring a shock to all of us. I mean, you can just see the expressions, how casually she admits it as if nothing else matters. You know what I did there, right?
He was the one I was with, actually, when I took the pregnancy test, and then I got it confirmed by the doctor. He was the person I was with at the time.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter who you're with when the doctor tells you you're pregnant. It matters who you're with when the child is conceived.
Right. I was with him and someone else.
Okay, so that's why we're here.
So, they weren't exactly lovebirds, but more like friends with benefits. Ugh, I've just had it with that phrase. Like, come on, what benefits when you end up hurting each other in the process? And also, why can't you just be responsible and be sure right from the start?
When I find out that she's pregnant, I really just start to prepare myself mentally. I had 2 jobs at the time. I was really trying to just prepare myself for everything.
So
I know what it means to have a child. I didn't really have a dad growing up, and I grew up in the system. I like babies.
So this was your first child?
Yes, Your Honor.
And after going through a difficult time, you were excited about being a father.
You just hear that? But it turns out there's another man in the picture, and Miss DeVost was intimate with him too around the time of conception. She's suddenly becoming a fan of honesty, admitting to her double dealings. just reminds me of the old saying, honesty is the best policy.
As he was signing this birth certificate and being there for the child and going to doctor's appointments and witnessing the birth, Ms. DeVos, you knew all the while that there was another possible father?
I was scared. I just never wanted to tell him that it wasn't his because I knew the situation he'd been through and it was just hard. I didn't want to go through it alone.
Yeah, right. He was doing the right thing, but what you were doing was completely wrong. Mr. Walker reveals text messages where Miss DeVos drops the cold, hard truth. He's not your son. It's a harsh reality. And oh boy, it was all done over a text?
You kicked me out with damn near no place to go. You wasn't thinking about our son or anything. You write back, he's not your son. You respond, Mr. Walker, so as long as I'm on the birth certificate, I'm not going anywhere. You ruined my whole life. You respond, you're not his father. You ruined your own life.
Hurting him sooner or later doesn't matter, Miss DeVos, because you might not be able to see the hurt, but it's a common factor here, isn't it? However, just an opinion, you could have saved the man a whole amount of hurt by telling him earlier.
Mr. Walker, did you have any idea any of this was going on after you saw your baby come into the world? Where were you in this situation?
I've caught hold of the situation when she went out of town to a concert, and when she came back, a friend of hers inboxed me saying that I wasn't his father.
Ah, well now it's all said and done. And the hurt has been so visible that we can cut it with a knife. So before we reach any conclusion, how about we just read the results first and make a clear stance? So here's Judge Lake with the DNA results.
Mr. Walker, you are not the father. I'm sorry I couldn't give you the news you wanted, Mr. Walker. You have been a stand-up guy. You should be very proud of yourself.